Jay with another episode of the Utopia podcast. Alongside me today is Gashwanti. Tommy, how's it going?
Pretty good after getting some pretty good news.
I was going to say it's been another busy week, mainly a busy last day with news relating to NCAA Football 10, 2010, whatever you want to call it. So let's get right to the news. Today we found out via the Inside EA Sports blog that a little feature people have been asking for 3 years on Next Gen will return in NCAA Football 10, and that is quarterback auto pass, or coach mode as they call it. Tommy, I know you keep up with the forums. Everyone's pretty excited about this. Talk about your thoughts on this returning feature.
Well, it kind of brings over some people who have basically not bought the game at all for the current generation of consoles, just because there are those guys out there that don't like, as they call the rest of us, they don't like to be joystick jockeys. They like to be able to call the plays and let the computer execute everything from there. Basically, what that does is it relies a lot more on having quality players in positions to make plays instead of the controller, or the person controlling them, being able to overcome some of those ratings. So bringing those guys in, it'll be really good. It'll while they're probably a smaller group than the rest of us, they definitely add a lot to the community.
Early in the week, Will Kinsler, the EA Tiburon content community manager, posted a small nugget saying that later this week some news would come out in regards to the game that would satisfy a small but hardcore group, and I think a lot of us assumed that it would be the return of coach mode. It was those terms, just a few words, but they pretty much gave away that it was coming back, and it's great news. And I want to say that I know we do a very good job of when EA messes up, we let them know on the forums, but I have to say whoever's decision it was to post this first, it's sort of the first real big news tidbit for NCAA Football 10, I think it was really a great decision, because this has been kind of the silver bullet the last few years when it comes to, is EA listening to the community? This is one of the features that even people who don't use coach mode, they wanted to see it come back, because they knew some of their fellow community members hadn't bought the game in 3 years, or they were still playing the last gen version of the game, that they hadn't moved on to PS3 or 360. And I think now maybe this will indicate and kind of signal a change. Some of those guys might finally hang up the PS2 controller for good, move over to the next gen, and kind of bring the community back to one level, back on the PS3 or 360.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of opens the door for them to join the rest of us. And as well, with EA kind of posting this, it'll probably give a lot of people, that never even considered it or never even knew that was an option, it'll give them the idea to do it. And, I'd love to see if maybe one day, pipe dream here, but one day EA could actually put together a formal coach mode to where, everything is legitimately controlled by the computer, to where all you do is pick the play and then watch. So, but this is a great first step in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. That's a feature I think a lot of people down the line would like to see. Maybe you start as just a coordinator on one side of the ball, succeed there, you become a head coach at a lower school, and move up to hopefully become a coach at a major university. But this is the first step. It's great to see it finally come back to NCAA football. And also included in this blog was another screenshot. And kind of discussion of this has been kind of stunted by the news of coach mode returning. But there's a new screenshot today, again, of a Stanford player. So somebody at EA Tiburon must really love the Stanford Cardinal. What do you think of the picture?
It, again, is a great picture, just like the one we had before. And I would assume, since the people in the background are wearing navy and yellow, that they're playing Cal again. But again, it's a great picture. The helmet, again, captures what like a reflective helmet should look like. I don't know anything about what Stanford's helmets actually are, how reflective they are or anything like that. But this makes me think of kind of like the New York Giants helmets, how they have a really shiny sheen on them. So it looks great. Again, we've got the field of vision set to where you only focus on the center of the photo and everything. So it's another great looking photo.
I'd say so far I've been pretty impressed with the quality of the pictures. And like you said, I imagine this is from the same game. They just pulled the batch of them, and this is what popped up again to show us. Yesterday we found out producer Greg Hedleston had talked to one of the playbook guys who are in charge of the playbook at NCAA Football. And there'll be major changes coming this year to the Flexbone playbook, which is great news to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. I've just started recently in an online dynasty, using the run option playbook. And while it's a lot of fun, it has a whole lot of things that are missing. Just simply sweep plays, toss plays, things like that. Instead, from the actual flex bone itself, all of the running plays are pretty much option or fullback dives. But this can expand on that. But then also what I like to hear is that he also mentioned increased animations for shotgun running plays, mainly what he mentioned, especially counters. That'll be good because, as is right now, if somebody's going to be running out of the shotgun, they pretty much have to go to one side unless they run an option to the other side. So this will expand and let you work both sides of the field out of the option, or out of the shotgun, rather.
And I think this playbook change, Georgia Tech, I believe, is one of the schools that those will help a lot. Are there any others come to mind? I know Georgia Tech is a big one right there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paul Johnson obviously joining Georgia Tech and running that option. He didn't change his philosophy at all. That really kind of brought the offense back, and I'm sure it opened EA's eyes to where they wanted to really address some things in it.
I'd say this is another great start. Some of the information we've been given early on NCAA, we've had relating from, a new feature while it's small, the coach mode in terms of it's an on-off switch in the settings, onto, flex bone changes with the playbook. I think they've done a good job early on. We haven't heard a lot about the game, but the two things we have heard I think are pretty positive for just the general direction of maybe where NCAA Football 10 is headed.
Right. It seems like they're addressing a lot of different things that, they're really listening to the community, and it's really showing just by the little nuggets they've released so early. Coach mode has been a long issue. A lot of people have complained about the flex bone this year, and it sounds like they're wanting this to be the game that everybody falls in love with the NCAA series again. So so far they're definitely heading in that direction.
Yeah, they've done a good job so far. Granted, it's just 2 for 2, but still, that's better than going over 2 in your early news releases. And to kind of wrap this up, and it kind of ties in with the announcement of Coach Mode, that post was made by designer, Russell Kiniry. Excuse me if I pronounced that wrong, Russell. He was the one who wrote up this blog, and coincidentally enough, he joined the Utopia site this week over at ncaaStrategies.com, taking questions. He works on gameplay. He also works on – what else does he work on? I am drawing a blank here for some reason.
Gameplay is his main
Dynasty.
Focus,
Mm-hmm.
and Dynasty, correct.
Yeah.
But the great thing about him joining us is that he, number one, we've kind of always had some questions that have gone unanswered, especially about gameplay, just because Adam from Operation Sports and Greg from NCAA Strategies, neither one really work in depth on gameplay itself, so he kind of fills in that gap. But he's really interested in getting feedback. And from a video posted on the Inside EA blog, he is really focused on returning this to a sim game or fixing things that community sees as not being sim. So it's great to hear from him, and then great to have him involved and aboard with the community.
Yeah, he's done a great job so far in answering questions, and I think a really smart move. He started off his thread with something that he was working on right now. He wanted to know what kind of sim stats we thought maybe were out of whack, about the top 25 rankings. Is there anything funny that kind of goes on with them, with the bowl bids? That I was pretty impressed with Russ Kiniry. I pronounced his name wrong earlier. I'm sorry. Kiniry, way he started off his thread, that I think it's really a good start, that the community now, they know exactly where this feedback is headed because it's something he's working on.
Agreed, yeah, and he's already giving us reporting back feedback on what he's finding as far as being able to tweak the BCS rankings and things like that. I mean, he's letting us know that almost as he works it, how well the progress is going. So it's really good to have him aboard.
Well, like we started off the show with, it's been a busy week for news, especially the last 24 hours. So make sure, everyone, you keep checking ncaaStrategies.com for the latest on NCAA Football 10. Don't forget, we have NCAA basketball producer Sean Campbell on board answering questions, taking feedback for NCAA basketball. So if you're a big college sports fan and you have either one of those titles and you want to give your feedback, visit our site. You can go interact with producers directly and have influence and say in your favorite college games. For Tommy, this is CDJ. Tommy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of the Utopia podcast.